Well, hey y'all, how you doing? So, welcome to this new series that we have called Coming Out Christian. This is like the fifth episode, I think it is. And I was, putting it out there to God. What should I talk about next? What do we want to talk about next? What is the next topic? And I asked it several times throughout the day because this is what happens. And I opened up my TikTok and I was checking some of the comments. So I try really hard sometimes, and I'm very fortunate that this happens. It's not a complaint and it's not a brag. It's just a fact that sometimes a video will do well and there'll be a lot of comments on it. And I try really hard to get to as many comments as possible. It starts to get a little out of hand and I can't get to them all. But this was a relatively newer video that I had posted. And all it was a snippet, a very tiny, short, quick snippet of the last episode of this series. And here it is, this.
Coming out as Christian. Yes, I was anxious, not terribly, but enough so that we're having a conversation about it. As I mentioned previously, my family, most of my friends, nobody is a Christian around me.
So that's all it was. Just very quick, really no big anything, like no big truth bomb being dropped, nothing, just that. And I checked the comments and there was only a handful on there. And so one of them, it was very easy to catch my eye. One of them caught my eye. And he or she, I don't really know if it's a man or a woman. I don't know why I always assume it's a guy. I don't know why I do that. Women are just as argumentative. Argumentative. That's not the word. Why do we do that all the time? Anyhow, you know what I mean. Sorry, I didn't drink coffee today. That's a whole other conversation. We'll talk about that another time. So anyhow, he asked a question, or she, something to the effect of, why do Christians always force their religion on people? Now, let me start by saying this. First of all, that question doesn't bother me. Any contrary belief or opinion questions or comments, they don't bother me at all. One, because I get them on every single thing I post. So whatever, it starts to become like beige wallpaper, the whole beige wallpaper thing. So it didn't faze me. And also another reason it didn't faze me is because it was the same types of comments and questions and opinions that I held for a long period of time about religion. And I know what you're thinking. I know what you're saying to the screen right now. Don't worry, I'll get there. I promise. You'll see. I had the same opinion and the same feeling. I really couldn't stand it when people started talking to me about God and religion and faith and church. And that was like my attitude. What you just saw, that was how I heard it. It was like, Charlie Brown, the adults in the Charlie Brown cartoons, the wah, wah, wah. And it made me really uncomfortable and I couldn't stand it. And I would actually get like irritated and mad. And this is like sometimes the reaction I get from people when I share on social media. In person, people don't do that. People get real brave and ballsy behind the computer screen. So they'll be insulting, as much as they want because they feel safe. In person, people are usually more respectful. And but I'm also respectful. If I don't, I don't actually force the topic on anybody, including social media. If you want to watch my videos and hear it, then watch it. If the topic is like a nope for you, scroll. I can't force you to watch it. So that always makes me laugh. All of these things kind of make me chuckle a little bit. But I thought it would be actually a really great topic because maybe you're getting hit with these types of comments or questions or responses. And, maybe you're struggling with what to say or you're just uncomfortable or something. So, and I'm not saying that my response is the response to have. It's just a response. It's just the response that I have. And by all means, I always ask you this, by all means, if you have a better response, and I'm not being sarcastic or cheeky here, if you have a better response, I really would love to hear it, because it would be helpful. So we'll get into all of that. If you have something different that you say, or a different way of handling it, I honestly would love to hear how you handle it. Okay. Okay, good. So now the first thing that I say, if I choose to have the dialogue with somebody, and this person started off pretty respectful, simply asking a question. I didn't think that person was being a jerk or rude, but definitely like combative in a mild way. So I figured, I'll respond, whatever. So my response was that, first of all, Christianity isn't a religion. It's a relationship between you and God. So that was the part that I kind of figured you might be yelling at the screen at, saying, it's not a religion. It's not a religion. I know. It just needed to give me a minute to get to that. So that was the first thing that I said. I said, Christianity is not a religion. It's a relationship. And I don't personally think that we force it on anyone. And I find it super interesting. And this is kind of like a segue a little bit. I didn't say all of this to that person. This is just the stuff that I was thinking about afterwards. Sorry, I'm fixing my little teeny tiny microphone that I clipped on here, because I just knocked it over, because as you could see, I can't stop talking with my hands. I'm not Italian. I know I stereotyped. Sorry, Italians. So yeah. So this is kind of like a longer thought process on it that I didn't go into. But I will say, I always find it funny that people will say, well, you're forcing this on me. You're forcing, in this case, your Christian or your faith or your beliefs on me. When the reality is, all that's happening is that you're hearing an opinion, a feeling, a perspective, a viewpoint that is opposite of what you feel and think and believe. So therefore, to you, it's being forced on you. Now, if I sat down and said, let's talk about how I don't believe in God, you would probably, if you were that other person with that particular mindset, you would say, oh yeah, let's talk about that. That's a great topic. Let's talk about it. But because it's something you disagree with and you don't like, now it's being forced on you. No, you can walk away from any conversation at any time. You can decline any conversation at any time. And particularly, you can scroll past or delete or unfollow anyone or anything on social media that doesn't appeal to you and your values and beliefs. So nothing's being forced on anyone. So these are opinions and viewpoints that everybody gets to express, and people get the choice to listen or not listen. It's that simple. So I found that like really funny. So then this person went on to say, I have to kind of read my notes here because I forget exactly what to say. Then he goes right into abortion, or she goes into abortion. That was like the next question. So that was obviously where they wanted to go with this, probably right from the get-go. They were maybe trying to lead me down some path or something, or to get me to say something. I don't know what people's motivations are. But this was clearly what was bothering this person about Christianity, our stance on abortion. And so obviously this is a pro-choice, or it's so annoying, these terms, pro-choice person, believes in women's reproductive rights, blah, 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 all that, all the ways that they dress up that topic to not call it what it actually is, right? I guess I'm probably going to kind of cut this and bleep this a little bit on YouTube, because I feel like this is something that they'll censor because it doesn't go with their viewpoints. So we'll probably have some bleeps and stuff, maybe. I'm not sure I'm going to handle that one yet. We'll see. So that was the question that they next asked. So, blah, blah, blah. Why do Christians think it's their right to tell people not to get abortions, tell women not to get abortions, or that they can't get abortions? My viewpoint is, and yes, I know there are extremists in every single thing. Every walk of life, every lane. Yes, I know all of that. I'm talking about in the very general sense of the average person, which I consider myself to be totally average, average American, average everything. I'm even average height, I think. Oh, I might be below average. I'm not really sure. But anyhow, what we're saying is that it's wrong. And that's not just my opinion, that's just a fact. Sure, you can argue that if you want. I don't care. But it is a fact because a unborn child has its own DNA, has its own heartbeat, has every single thing to make up their entire own existence. And I could have gone on to argue with him back and forth on all of this, just give the examples of, okay, if you're so firm on your stance, on your viewpoint here, that it's, not a viable human being, then why is it that if in, I think most states, if not most, many, if a pregnant woman is murdered, the assailant, the murderer, is charged with a double homicide. So make up your mind, people. Which one is it, right? But anyhow, I'm starting to go off on a tangent here, which is very easy to do on that topic. But anyhow, so people want to argue all of these points, or what they see as points, against Christianity. And my opinion is simply I'm not going to argue. If you ask me a question, I will give you the answer that I know, that I believe, and that I feel. And if I don't have an answer, I'm going to tell you, I don't really have the answer to that. I don't have an explanation for that. But there are lots of people out there who do and can do it very, very well. It's funny to me, like all of these things, and I don't mean funny, haha, just like funny head scratching kind of thing. The types of reactions and responses that people have to Christianity, that it's such an immediate hostility. And again, I remember feeling that way and being that way. And, and I spent some time thinking about like the why of that. And for me, it was lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. And, because of that, a genuine discomfort with the topic, because it was a topic I didn't understand and I didn't know, and I had misconceptions about it. So that's typically where most people are coming from. Now you have your people who study theology and are anti-Christian, atheists, and they're dead set on that. And that's even with going through all the process of learning about different religions and faiths and history and all of that kind of stuff. And that's still their conclusion. What do you say to that? I don't know. There's also a lot of people who started out as atheists and went into the study of theology and changed their mind and came out Christians. So what I will tend to most often tell people who seem to not have done their research, have not, taken the steps to learn and really see what all of this means to them in their life and if it fits them or not, I would simply suggest to them to do that. Like, it's not my job to argue with you. It's not my job or even my interest to fight with somebody over. But if you want to have a conversation, a dialogue about it, by all means, let's do it. I'll tell you all day, all the ways that I am so happy and at peace in my faith. And that's another thing, actually, that actually is the good segue into the next question that people ask or say, or it's not a question, it's a comment that people say. And I've heard this quite a few times, they'll say, oh, I can't stand Christians because they think they're better than everyone else. And there probably are Christians out there, so-called Christians out there, that do think they're better than everyone else. I've actually seen him. There's actually I'm not going to say his name because I don't really want to disparage anybody, but there was a pastor that I started to follow on TikTok, and I liked what he was saying initially. Well, generally, I like what he says. I don't like the way that he says it. He has a very, very arrogant, condescending way about him. So the message was good. The delivery is bad. And at first, like I said, at first I liked him. I hit that follow button. Speaking of, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, huh? That was cheesy, I know. So at first I liked it, but there was something in the back of my head that was like, do you like him? Do you actually like him? Is that somebody you want to follow? And, the discernment, I think, started kicking in a little bit. And I decided against following him on social media, although his stuff does still pop up on my feed and I watch it and I listen, but now it's with a little more discernment. And I listen to the message and I give it some thought and consideration before I really take it to heart. So yeah, interesting things like that happen. So yes, absolutely. There are people, pride-filled people, arrogant people, judgmental people, simply not good Christians, that call themselves Christians. And sure, that's probably exactly what puts a lot of people off from pursuing their own faith. And to that, I would say exactly what I've been told and what I've heard. I would love to say that I, came up with these thoughts all on my own. No, of course not. These are things that I've learned from other people. But the answer to that really is your relationship with God is exactly that. Your relationship with people is something else. Now, yes, the teaching and the order of things is love God, love people, right? You can love people and not like them and not want them part of your inner circle. I think that's perfectly fine. You can, by loving them, it's not a romantic love. It's not a familial love. It's a love of wanting the best for them and wanting them to have the same joy and peace and serenity and faith that you have, right? That's how I see it. So that is how I consider loving people that I otherwise would find unlovable to me. So I give them that form of love. So that person who was combative and argumentative, and not really even, I shouldn't say it like that. It wasn't even in a bad way. He was asking questions, or she, because they believe something different than I do. And I think deep down, maybe they just do want some answers. Maybe deep down, they do want to believe, but they're so closed off that, they need to present it in that way. So I consider that just giving somebody some grace to ask their questions, even if they're not asked in a way that I prefer to be asked questions. So yeah, so that would be my answer to that. Boy, this feels like it's very rambling. So I'm sorry if it is. I get in trouble for that sometimes. Some guy commented on it. He gave it 5 minutes, but I was rambling or something and he didn't like that. So he had to leave, but he had to announce his departure. So of course I made a video about it. Of course, I'm going to show it to you here.
Let me just start by saying congratulations to this guy. This guy right here. Huge congratulations.
You did it! Congratulations!
You win the award for being the guy who actually pissed me off today. And normally, I'm telling you, I get comments daily from people who don't like me, don't like my content, don't like what I have to say, all of that stuff. Water off a duck's back. I don't care. I'm used to it. They become the color beige, typically. the color you don't even notice as you walk by it. Doesn't faze me. Today, this morning, this was the comment that I woke up to. And yes, you did it. Congratulations. You pissed me off. It's not that you didn't like my content. It's not that you didn't like the video. It's not that your attention span couldn't go past 5 minutes. The video wasn't interesting to you. Totally fine. Maybe that is on me. Maybe it was a boring video. I don't know. All I know is that I felt compelled to make it and share it. And I do think there's somebody out there that's going to watch it and it will resonate with. You're not the one. Totally fine. What pisses me off is your need, and people like you. It's really not just you. It's not even personal. It's people like you who do things like that, who actually take the time, and thank you for taking the time to even watch 5 minutes of my video. Much appreciated. But it's that you take the time to leave a comment that is really mean-spirited. It is. Once upon a time, people had the sense to, when they didn't like something or didn't agree with something, or it simply didn't resonate with them, they just moved on. They just went on with their life. Didn't give it a second thought. But now there's people like you, thanks to the age of the internet, who think that it's so important, so necessary to tell a complete stranger something that may or may not ruin their day, make them feel bad about themselves, make them question what they're doing, make them feel shitty, basically. Like, there are people like you in the world who go out there and intentionally do things like that. Is that a surprise? No. You're not going to ruin my day. You're not going to stop me from creating content. You're not going to stop me from doing anything that I'm planning on doing now or ever just because you didn't like it. What makes me so angry about your comment is the thought, and this is the first thought that popped into my head about you, is that, my God, this person has probably reproduced. And all I could think is, if this guy is willing to be shitty and garbage to a complete stranger, what did those poor kids go through? Like, how did he raise them? And you know what? Maybe you're a great dad. Maybe you're not a dad at all. All I'm telling you is the impression that you left. So, be better.
So yeah. So anyhow. There are people who definitely fit that particular stereotype of how some people perceive Christians, right? To me, being a real Christian, a true Christian is, to work on your relationship with God, read the Bible, learn the Bible, understand the Bible, strive towards understanding the Bible and what it means in your life, how it helps your life, and then to share it with other people. And yes, just like that person, there's going to be people that say, nope, no thanks, not interested, no way. And that's okay. But the message, the response, I guess, to that question of like, the first question of why do Christians force their views or their faith on other people? We're not forcing it on anybody. We're offering it. We're offering it. And it's so bizarre to me. Like when somebody says, hey, listen, I have in my hand all of the tools, all of the things that you need in life to be fulfilled and happy and joyful and freed from worry. And of course, we all worry no matter what, but freed from excess worry. I have it all in my hand right here, and you can have it too. And you only have to do one thing. Like, you have to do one thing, and that's believe. Like, that's it. And you can have a whole different life that is so great. Even when times are bad, even when things are difficult, even when you're in pain, even when you're heartbroken, you will still have this special, beautiful knowledge in your heart, in your mind. And I can give it to you. I can give you the the cure, basically. Like, I have it and I want to give it to you. I want to share it with you. And they're like, no, ew, gross. No, I don't want that. Keep that away from me. It's so bizarre to me. But that's okay. That's their choice. I would just say, listen, I want for you, and everyone what I have. I want everyone to have my peace. So it's not, we probably do come across as, crazy zealots or something. But I know that I can speak for myself. And again, I'm not like approaching people randomly and saying, can I talk to you about God? Can I talk to you about my Jesus? I'm not doing that. If it comes up in conversation, if people ask me, you'll be surprised, or maybe you won't be surprised. Maybe this is happening to you. But I was very surprised at how many people were asking me, like, friends and friends specifically, well, family too, but just recently, my group of friends, this is now common knowledge that Elsa has come out of the closet as a Christian, and they were genuinely curious and interested, and like, so what happened? Where did this come from? How did this come about? What does it mean to you? Tell me about it. And so that was really cool. It was really awesome, and I was a little uncomfortable, but it was good in a good way. It was all good. So yeah. People are going to ask. They're going to want to know questions like the ones that person was asking, and other questions too. Obviously, we know the most common question. The first question everybody asks, well, if there's a God, and if he's so great, why does he let bad things happen to people, happen to good people? And, we all know the answer is, unfortunately, people don't like the answer because it's kind of simple, right? Free will. And once we were given free will, we have the power of choice. It's a great and terrible thing, isn't it? So yeah, as always, I'm about to go well over my little time limit here that I try and keep within. Did I miss anything else? I probably missed a ton of things. That's why we have multiple episodes. So I hope that helps you if you're getting confronted with these types of questions, comments, arguments, sentiments, whatever. I hope that helps you respond a little bit. And just because I lose track of my own words here, let me try and summarize a little bit by saying, you don't need to argue with anyone. You don't need to prove your point or your perspective or your beliefs. You don't need to prove it to any. You don't need to. It is what it is, and it is the truth and the way. And they don't have to accept it. They don't have to agree with it. And you can just simply tell them that, but always offer for them to, to seek out some answers for themselves. Like, you can tell pretty quickly if somebody has a genuine interest and wants to hear more, and whether they just want to argue with you. And if they want to argue with you, usually it's coming from a place of, pain and sadness. So maybe knowing that will help bridge that divide with them. Obviously social media, it's really hard. I'm talking kind of more of person to person, one-on-one, talking with people, that it's a lot easier to break down those walls and those barriers and hostilities that they may have, because usually it is based in some type of hurt, some type of disappointment. Interesting fact that I saw in a movie. It was a movie called A Case for Christ. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but if you haven't, it's really good. And I do actually recommend it to my non-believer friends who want to, maybe see something that may change their mind. It's a story about a journalist whose wife, I'm just kind of summarizing really quick. His wife became a believer, and they were atheists prior to. They had an incident that happened, And she changed her faith, changed her mind, changed her faith, or changed to faith, I should say. And he was furious. He was so mad about it. It's a true story, based on a true story. And he set out to disprove Christ, his resurrection, that he was resurrected, and all of that. So that was his goal. He set out, and he had the means to travel across the country and talk to different people, scientists, scholars, theologians, all kinds of people. And I believe, I don't know if he's still alive. I think he is, but I'll just leave it as he's a pastor today. So, or he became a pastor. If he's not one today, it would only be because he passed away. But yeah, so that kind of tells you everything. But in one point in the movie, he had spoken with, he'd gone to a university and spoke to a professor there, and she told him many of the atheists that they interviewed or they spoke with had issues with their own fathers, their biological earth fathers. And I thought that was so fascinating. Because why? Because the father. So it's only natural and to be expected that they would have a struggle with a father figure. I just thought it was interesting. So I don't know. Go check out that movie. I thought it was really good. I'm not getting anything for endorsing that movie. It's not an endorsement. It's just, I thought it was a good movie. A case for Christ, and maybe you'll enjoy it too. Get some interesting things out of there, and you can come back in and go, yeah, okay, so you kind of really messed up that whole thing about the atheist and the father and the whole thing, and you can set me straight, but you get the gist. You get the idea of what I'm trying to say here. So yeah, that's it. So I have no idea what the next week's topic is going to be. I'm just gonna ask for some guidance, and we'll see what it is. And maybe you will be the one to give me the guidance and the suggestion of what to talk about next. That would be very helpful. So I hope you got something out of this, and I will see you in the next episode. And Thursdays are the regular show. I have, who's coming up next? I think I have Neil Mammon from Every Black Life Matters. I think that's the one that's coming up next. Did I already air that one? I don't know, guys. I'm sorry. But I believe that's the one for tomorrow's show. So yeah, or I don't know. We'll see. We've got Neil Mammon coming up. Elizabeth Good is up next too. And yeah, we've got some great interviews coming up. I'm really excited. Still all ones from the NRB convention. So once again, I will ask you, if you're interested in this series, to please hit the subscribe button. And you can, if you want to know more about me, you can always check out my website. It's elsakurt.com. Everything is on there. My books, everything is on there. So we'll see you guys the next time, the next episode, the next time, whatever it is. We'll see you soon.